has been shoved aside a little bit to make room for the short-term memory of memorizing lines. So I have intense, there's an intensity in the short-term memorization that I have and bringing that to life. And then once I do that, I kind of just purge it and like let it go. And I don't know, I'm sure there's a psychologist in here that could analyze that and tell me why I do that. I don't know why I do that, but I do it. So we'll go to Bo first, and I'm guessing you're talking about the scenes when he's talking about his daughter.
Yeah. Or also when he's interrogating Avery, and you see the change from sort of like from anger and resentment, and it's not an emotional scene in the sense that he's crying, but it's really, really intense.
Right. So that all stems from basically I dive into what would I do as a father in this situation, and then how can I relate that to this character. And so I take what I think I know and how I think I would react, and then I put that into this character's hands and kind of just tailor it a little bit, and then that's what you see. So even with Dean, the vast majority of Dean is me. I just tailored it to tell the story through this character's eyes. But I wasn't trained professionally. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't learn methods. I didn't learn how to separate myself from the character. I basically find what relates to me as a person within the story, within the character. I extrapolate on that, and then I apply it to the character. Same thing really with Soldier Boy. In fact, what I was getting to is that scene I thought a little bit about, because I have a good relationship with my father. So I had to dive a little bit into something that I was familiar with that maybe didn't, and that was Dean. So I kind of dived into a little bit of Dean and John relationship, even though Dean loved his father and idolized his father for many, many years, but it was a strained relationship. And and at the end of the day, I just pretended, because that's essentially what acting is. You try to find the most honest emotion that you can muster up within yourself. You try to identify that. You try to portray that within this character in order to tell the story. And it's, some people can do it, some people can't. It's like, some people can write amazingly. Some people can do math amazingly. Some people can sing. Some people can can paint. I can't paint. I can't draw or the lick. I mean, I'm lucky to get a stick figure that looks remotely well. But there are some people that just see it and can, and I just, for some reason, can see. You guys seen that movie, Good Will Hunting? When he talks about how he can do math, he's like, Beethoven could just see the piano and he could play. Now, I'm not saying that I'm Beethoven as far as acting goes by any means, but I can't play. And so I try to play as much as I possibly can, and that's using what I have in my life, using what I think would be the right emotion, and then I just expand on that.
Ben is just a little boy searching for his father's approval.
100%.
At the end of the day, which is kind of what Dean wants as well.
Absolutely. So I was able, and I'm like, am I getting typecasted here? Is this? But no, you're absolutely right. And so there was some correlation there between Dean and Soldier Boy, and that's why I thought it was such a fantastic plot twist when Soldier Boy was like given this opportunity to have a son and a grandson and change that but then he reverts to his DNA and becomes what he always hated, what his father was. Yeah. So I mean, and that's just great writing. But it's also really fun to take that character on that journey. And then it's just, it's pretending. It's painting with a paintbrush that I know how to paint with.
And you do paint very, very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Eva, and I love the episode where the trickster puts Dean and Sam in different TV shows. And is there a TV show you would like to be in? For example, I would love to see you in the YouTube talk show Hot Ones, where you get interviewed and eat extremely spicy chicken wings. I hope you know it. I would love to see how far you come.
Apple juice. Apple juice.
I have said for several years now, before the show got big,
You know it, you know
when
the
it
show.
when Hot Ones was just a YouTube show and like nobody had heard of it and they were having like random people on it, I was like, Jared and we were still shooting Supernatural. I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta do this show. And they invited us both to come on the show. And we couldn't work it out with production. But now the show is so popular that like major A-list movie stars are doing it. I don't think they're gonna have us on anymore. But I will say that the guy, Sean, yeah, I will say that Sean, so Jeffrey D. Morgan he did an episode during COVID, and so he had to do it, via Zoom. But I was talking to Jeff about it, and I was like, dude, I did Hot Ones. I'm so jealous. And he's like, are you serious? You want to do that show? I was like, I would love to do that show. I want to do that show so bad. And he's like, Sean loves Supernatural. Like, he would totally have you guys on. I'm like, really? And then I started watching the show, and I was like, oh, well, like, Charlize Theron's doing it. And, it's now there's just too many big names. Like, who was the latest person? There's, like, huge names that do it now.
Yeah, really huge names. Pedro Pascal, Jill
All right, enough with Pedro Pascal. Okay. I've had about enough of Pedro Pascal. The guy he's too awesome, and I want to be him. Did you guys watch This Is Us, or The Last of Us? Yeah. This Is Us. Good show, though. Shout out to Sterling and my boy Justin. Yeah, The Last of Us. So that started floating around Hollywood a couple years ago, and I was like, all right, who do I have to kill to get this role? And it became very clear that his name was Pedro Pascal. And because I'm a law-abiding citizen, I did not kill him. And instead I watched The Last of Us on my iPad with hate in my eyes. What? All the hate? Oh, did I take a picture? Did I take a selfie of the hate in my eyes? No, but I can show it to you right now. It looked a little something like this. What'd just happened? I enjoyed his performance and I got mad at myself. That's what happened. That's what that looks like. God bless you, Pedro. You're killing it. Good for you. But that's the thing too. Like in this industry, like am I jealous? Yeah. Envious? Sure. But I'm also really happy for him. Like, good for him. Like, he's killing it right now. That's so great. And I think that's a really like cool thing about this industry is I think the people that really get it, they aren't upset if they're not getting a role. They're like happy for the person that gets to succeed because there's always going to be different stories. There's always going to be other roles, but sure, would I love to play that role? Yeah. But I would have done it much differently. And it wouldn't have been what it turned out to be. And I think it turned out to be really great. And so for that, I'll just keep my eyes out for the next one. You know? I don't remember where we were, what we were talking about. Hi.
Hi, my name is Naomi, and I'm pretty sure about what you're gonna answer to this question, but what can you tell us about these rumors spreading online that you're on a top 3 list to play Batman?
I don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you.
That's why I said that I know the answer, but I wanted to see the reaction.
Watching Pedro?
I mean, could I do it? Sure. Would I want to do it? Yes.
The Batman voice.
Will I be mad when Pedro Pascal gets it? Yeah. God bless you, Pedro. You just keep killing it, buddy. Let me know when you pass on something. Look, I don't. Right now, nobody's talking about anything. I think it's everybody knows that there's a strike going on in the entertainment industry, and until that gets solved, then nobody is having conversations about anything. People are having conversations in-house, but those aren't necessarily conversations that are being talked about outside. So, would I entertain the idea of playing my favorite superhero of all time? Nah, I'm good. It seems like a lot of work. You know, got to put on a whole suit and be a superhero. I love it. Sign me up. And now I have a question for you.
Yeah,
If, by some miracle,
yeah.
when I get to put the cowl on, does the voice need to be radically different?
Well, I mean, Batman is my favorite superhero.
I get you.
So I think
But like,
Not just
Christian
the
Bale,
voice.
like he went like,
no.
I'm Batman.
No.
Do you go that extreme, or is it?
No. I honestly believe but you'd be perfect for it because your voice is the Batman voice.
Okay, but Batman has to be different from Bruce Wayne.
Yes, but not so much. Like, yes,
Adam
Bruce Wayne
West.
is normal voice. And Batman just a little bit lower, but not too much. I mean, it's not having like cough every day.
It's not a sore throat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So so Bruce Wayne would be here. Hi, I'm Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's
How are you?
Yeah.
Jensen.
And Batman.
Yeah, but if you get the part, because I told you how to do the voice.
I need an on-set, like, helper, assistant, somebody to, like, you know, help me get the cape on.
Where do I sign?
I'll send the papers your way.
Even for free.
Even for free? No, you'll get paid. What is that? What's happening?
Jaws.
Spin the wheel? Okay, let me get a question in as I walk over and spin the wheel. What's up?
Hi, I'm Izzy.
Hey.
My favorite episode is Dark Deed Afternoon, and I wanted to know how long it took you to shoot the scene with the bird. You know, this question, the bird hit on the father, and you say, "Hey, come on!"
How long did it take to shoot that
Yes,
scene?
without laughing away.
Oh, not long at all, because just about every scene we did was ridiculous like that. But I will say that there were many scenes surrounding the Impala that it got to a point where Jensen was had become Dean in the protection of the car, so much so that like the picture car the person who was responsible for the car when the cameras weren't rolling would get in the car and drive away, and I'd be like, "Take it easy on the clutch, hey, easy on the brakes too. They're a little squishy." Okay, Frank. And I got so protective of the car, and that's when I knew I had to own it. So doing any scene, like us running in and like jumping in the car, and like Jared getting in, banging his boots against the door and hitting his head and just being Jared, he'd also just sit there and just like fart. And in my mind, it wasn't budget. It wasn't him like making my environment uncomfortable. It was him doing that on the seat. It just made me angry. It's like, just step out. Like, I don't, like, lift up. Like, just even aim it my way. I'll get out. Like, I don't, but not on the seat. Come on. She's been through enough. She's so old. She's beautiful, but she's been through enough. Like, let's not flatulate on her. We don't need to do that. You guys know the word flatulate? Is there a word like that in Italian? Like a really fancy, I can count on one finger how many times I've said the word flatulate. Well, I can count on one hand now. I'm gonna spin the wheel. It's like it knows me. It was so close to this. I was like, like, have faith, have faith. And it worked. Hi.
Hi. I have a little confession and a question. I saw you the first time in Days of Our Lives, and I'm still watching it, even though sometimes I wonder why.
I think we're all wondering why. No, I'm just kidding. Then I have questions for you. But I will wait till you're
I
done.
actually
Okay.
started watching Supernatural because I recognized the Eye of the Tiger takeout on YouTube, and I saw you, and I was like, that's the guy from Days of Our Lives.
Hey, that was Eric Brady. 3 Eric Bradys ago. Hasn't that character been like recast? I know
He's
one person
being
came
recast.
back.
In Belgium, we're like 5 years behind in the US, but he's still the same for at least 7 years or so.
Is it still Greg Vaughn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
old friend of mine actually, who called me up and was like, "Hey man, they've offered me the role of Eric Brady. It would feel weird saying yes to it without talking to you." And I was like, "Greg, knock it out, bro. Go do it." And he was like, "Okay." So Greg's still doing it.
Yeah.
Great, cool.
So my question is, aside from being new in the business at the time, what's the major differences between working on a soap opera set and on series like Supernatural and Boys and stuff?
Outrageously different. So I'm gonna get a little business with you guys. So the first major show I did in Hollywood was a show called Mr. Rhodes. Some of you know this. Bear with me. That was a half-hour live-action sitcom. Not live-action, live-audience sitcom. Like Friends, Seinfeld, Big Bang Theory, those shows, right? You got several cameras lined up. You have an audience of 200 to 300 people in front of you, and you perform your scenes, right? So that was my first job. And to date, the best schedule Hollywood has to offer to date. The next best thing, in my opinion, would be daytime soap operas. So soap operas have 30-some actors. And then they have storylines. They have multiple storylines, right? What would you say? 4 or 5 storylines going on at the same
More or
time?
less, yeah.
Yeah. And each episode spends about 12 to 20 pages of script per storyline. Okay? So if I'm in, let's call them A, B, C, D storylines. If I'm in the B storyline, that B storyline has 18 pages of script. They shoot all of those 18 pages consecutively on that day. It can take, to shoot 18 pages on a soap opera, an hour, maybe 2 hours, because they're shooting an entire hour episode a day. They're shooting 65 to 70 pages a day. So I would go in and do 12 pages of dialogue and be at breakfast, so the cameras start rolling at 9 a.m. every morning. There's a 5, they take 5, you know, you've heard that term, take 5. They take 5 minutes at the top of every hour. Everybody walks off set, takes 5 minutes, crew goes out, has a smoke, have a Coke, whatever, call your kids, go to the bathroom, whatever you gotta do. Then you come back and you keep working. Then you go to lunch, come back, keep working. You're done by 6 or 7 p.m. And you've shot 60, 70 pages of script.
That's a lot.
Supernatural was about 40 to 50 pages of script. And it took us 8 days to shoot. So right there, like, it's just a whole different animal.
Is it easier if it's in a week?
This is why I think daytime actors and daytime programming in general don't get enough credit, is because they're jamming in all of those, they're jamming in an entire hour-long script in a day. What most people take 8 to 10, The Boys, 15 days to shoot one episode. So a whole month. Well, actually more than that, because that's not counting weekends. Like we're talking like 3 weeks. 3 weeks to shoot one episode. So these guys are shooting all of that in one day. So the fact that they're like, oh, it's not great, you know, they mess up the lines, or whatever. You know how hard it was to memorize like 20. I did 24 pages of dialogue in one day, and I did that in 5 hours. So that trained me how to be, you know, how to memorize, how to perform, how to hit my mark. I've told the story before. Like when I showed up on set, I was like, "Hey, I'm the new guy. What's up?" And Deidre Hall was like, "Hit your mark, know your lines, stay out of my light." And I go, "Wow. Yes, ma'am." And I did that, and it earned her respect. And it was one of the best things I could have done, because she took care of me, big time. And there's more stories about that. But I will say that experience gave me a platform, gave me a foundation to do everything that I've done since.
It was a crash course, basically.
Yes. And you know who I just heard from yesterday? Allison Sweeney.
Oh, really?
I did.
I like her character.
Yeah. And I got on the show, so she played my twin, for those of you who don't know, she played my twin sister on this show. And she'd been on the show for quite a long time before I got on there. And I got hired on to be her twin brother, who was coming back from, had been gone or whatever. And so I come back, and now the character's back in the fold. But now I'm on the show, and we go to, I think it was like Minneapolis or someplace. We go to a mall to do an autograph signing. And I'm fresh to the show, and I'm all new, and I don't know the protocol. She plays a bad person on the show. She's the evil twin. And
Not always.
Well, not now, but then she was. And these fans start heckling her and start saying bad things to her. And I immediately was like, "Shut your mouth! Shut it up! She is one of the nicest people I've ever met. How dare you say that about her?" "I'm sorry, Allison." She's like, hey, if they hate me, I'm doing my job. And I was like, "I'll shut up." And it was right then that I knew like how to play that way. And Allison taught me that. And I learned a lot from everybody on that show. Yeah.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. I don't know if I answered your question.
And now,
Guys, I got a Richard Spate. Stage right.
yeah. It's time for me to come and interrupt you. And they're like, go on, go up there. I'm like, I don't know what, I think he's telling a serious story.
Well, here's the thing. I was backstage. Well, Jason was telling a really serious story about his son. And I'm like, I'm not going up there.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Well, that's what, I mean, I hear you had your serious Jensen voice. And that's when I saw it and I thought, that's a good person right there.
There's a different voice.
Yes, it's a different
voice.
The voice that's not serious says, what are we doing? Jensen and I now got into the part, so I'm going to walk in this room like we haven't seen each other. You go over there, and this is how we communicate, and this is literally how, if you were backstage at a convention in any given city or on any set, this is how we react to seeing each other. Here we go. And scene. There he goes. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Before you go, this is the origin story of that. It is when I started directing Supernatural. I realized that Jensen is a...
When he started directing.
Yes. He is a sitcom and has his own catchphrase. You'd think he's a serious guy, and he is, to a point, but he's also a walking sitcom with his own catchphrase, because this is how Jensen enters set every swinging day, or not set, by the way, or a hotel room, or a green room. This is what he does. What are we doing? What are we doing? You know that? That we're done? Alright, let's do it. Everybody do it. We're circling up. We're gonna do it. What are we doing? I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing? Huh? Somebody tell me what we're doing. I can't do it if you don't tell me what I'm doing. Well, what are we doing?
It's such a simple question. And it tells you everything you need to know. Because when you walk into a room and there's people there that have been there before you, you just simply walk up and go, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we... Hey, all right, come here. Come here. What are we doing?
That's it. It's a sitcom. It's Kramer. It's Lenny and Squiggy. It's your big entrance. We're like, what are we doing?
So,
yay!
so that then graduated itself
Into...
what are we doing? What are we doing? And then it lost all syllables. And now it's just two elk communicating.
And the weird thing is, now there's an Andrew. Jensen and I walk in the hall and go, Rob will say, we're making sandwiches. You know, he'll answer the, what are we doing? Otis having a little mixer. What are you guys doing? Thank you, Bubba. What are we doing? One of my favorite what are we doing stories was during an episode of the show. It was very complex. I was obviously newer on the directing side, a veteran of the business, but newer on the directing side, and still cutting my teeth on stuff. And it was a scene where Brad Creaser was in a mood, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's a national treasure of several nations, but man, when Creaser gets in a mood...
He's our A-camera operator, for those who don't know.
You guys have if anybody who listens to the podcast, we've interviewed Brad several times. He literally is a close personal friend of both of ours. Lord knows he's got to be like, you guys are thick as thieves. He's like the third lead actor on the show.
I spent several of my own birthdays in his dining room with his wife, like cooking me steak and him and I having scotch. And I was like, no place I'd rather be.
Yeah, great guy. Gets in a mood. Occasionally, man gets a little...
He does get a little cranky.
Yeah, long days, especially green directors, maybe not making a decision or something. But if Brad goes, Brad, we're doing a scene where Jensen has to fire a weapon. Obviously, we take that kind of stuff very seriously. So we're talking about what lens we're going to use, how far it's going to be. Jensen's not on set yet. We're waiting to call you into set. We go, well, let's audition the 40 millimeter lens, which means let's try it. We're not committed to it. We're going to try it. Brad puts on the 40, and while I'm not looking, has the whole camera team fire up the plexiglass.
Like that.
Yeah.
So
that
the protective gear.
Which takes a minute. It takes a minute for them to get it on and get it set. So now Brad can be operating the camera. Jensen could fire a weapon in the vicinity of the camera, and Brad would be protected from any debris that would be coming out of the false round. He does that, and I walk in, and it's not the right lens. We go in, and I go, Brad, I don't think it's the right lens. Well, I just did the whole camera. Meanwhile, the first AD is calling Jensen to set. He's like, Jensen's on his way. Don't call Jensen. We're not ready for Jensen. Don't call Jensen. We're not ready for Jensen. Like, well, you said try the lens. I said try the lens. Don't put the thing on that means we have to use the lens. That's not the lens. Oh, here comes Jensen. Everybody backs away. What are we doing? And Brad immediately goes, well, we were going to do this scene where you fire a weapon at me, and I had the Lex hand ready to go, but now Rich wants to take the Lex hand off, and I don't feel safe. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. This is a safe set space. I don't care how many times you've been on this show. We're safe here. I'm Jensen goddamn Ackles, and I will not fire a weapon at Brad Creaser. That's unsafe. I won't do it. I didn't say let's do that. I didn't say that to you, Brad. I never said that. And Jensen, hi. Welcome to set. I'll be in my trailer. Let me know when the thing's ready. And we lost him. Damn it! And that's why I not only love what are we doing, but I also get a little bit of shit every time.
So I have to tell you, I worked on a show, Big Sky, this past fall.
Right?
I'm not kidding. I walked on set. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And nobody really understood what I was asking. And I just said it louder. Hey! What are we doing? And I wished so much that I could have just been like, "Ah!"
Well, that would have gotten an answer like, call the medic. Jensen's having an event. Some kind of
Richard Spade Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Jensen Michael. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Good times. What are we doing? While you stampede for the exits, remember, I can't go anywhere for 40 minutes, so please, somebody stay behind. Anybody, I will be taking questions, so even if they're for somebody else, I'll answer them. All right, let's start. It looks like we might have questions. This is great, because in a Q&A, it really helps the A if there's a Q. So, start you right there.
Hi, so you told me to ask Rob why he hates
Yeah, he really hates Perth.
Yes, I did. So
Yeah.
I want to know why you said it.
Listen, man, Rob is a man of great mystery. He's small like squirrel, but angry like muskrat. And I don't know. Here's the true story behind. How many people are aware that Rob hates Perth? It's a city in Australia. I know you know this. Rob doesn't like Perth. It's a crying shame because I think the people of Perth, who I'm pretty sure they go by Perthans.
No.
I'm going to say they do. Perthans are good people. Man, I love saying them Perthans. Rob and I we were in Australia, and it was our first trip to Australia. We were doing a convention, and we were staying together at, much like that cocktail event we did last night, where we kind of mix and mingle with everybody. Robbie and I are mixing and mingling. And we went up to this one young lady who was very nervously excited, like happy, but kind of nervous. A little bit of emotion coming out in this event. And she choked up a little bit, and she's like, "Oh, Rich, it's really great to meet you. You've never been to Australia. You're finally here. I'm so excited to meet you." And of course, I'm trying to obviously very gracious and want to comfort the young lady. And I said, "Thank you so much. It means so much to me. Love visiting your country. It's just a beautiful, beautiful nation you have. Where are you from in Australia?" And she says, "I'm from Perth." And I go, "Oh, Rob hates Perth." Now, I know the question might be, why would you say that? I don't know. I'm a trained professional. Act first, ask questions later. And so, I said it. But at that point, I'm committed. Rob hates Perth. It's out there now. You know what I mean? I can't take it back. It's been said. And when it's been said, it must be truth. It's out there. If the internet has taught us anything, then once it's out there, it's got to be true, right? So I said Rob hates Perth. And Rob goes, "I don't hate Perth. I don't even know Perth. I've never been to Perth. I'm sure if I went to Perth, I'd love Perth a lot. I really don't. Rich! I like Perth. You know what? You're talking about Mr. Perth here." And she literally looked at him and she said, through tears, "We take offense to that." And I said, "Robbie, this is not the time." And afterwards, he's like, why would you say that? I'm like, I don't know, it just happened. But the good news is, Rob, when you Google it, people are already making shirts, and they were. There was already shirts that Rob won, and it said Rob hates Perth with Australia. So I'm like, at this point, it's a branding opportunity, buddy. I can't really put the toothpaste back in the tube. You now hate Perth. And so that's where the Rob hates Perth comes from.
Because you mentioned the tour you suggested, the Rob Apology tour.
Yeah. I thought that was a great idea. Rob could go, I thought Rob maybe with the band or something could do a tour of Australia called the Robology Tour. Basically, Rob apologizing to the country of Australia, specifically the good people of Perth, who are good people. Don't let Rob fool you. They're good people. Rob's disdain for the people of Perth shouldn't influence your feelings about Perth. For starters, I would say, go to Perth. If you can't go to Perth, meet a Perthan. You will find that they are lovely. And then you'll think to yourself, Rob is off base here. He really shouldn't hate Perth. But if you don't have that opportunity, Rob could do this on his own by doing this Rapology tour, which I think would be a huge hit, and honestly, great way to mend fences between Rob and the good people of Australia. So hopefully Rob will do this because he really has a lot to apologize for. He's insulted a town in a very, very beautiful nation and beautiful country who've been nothing but warm to us, and it's, quite frankly, I find it offensive. So yeah, I think it's something we need to resolve, and thank you for reminding me. We're going to work on that Rapology tour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Hello.
Oh.
Being a teacher myself, I would like to know what is something you're good at or maybe even proud of teaching others?
Ooh, not Italian. I made in my attempt to learn Italian. I'm trying to learn Italian, but I'm not doing well. I confused the word learn and teach. So I was walking around yesterday saying, I teach Italian. And anybody who heard me say I teach Italian would know immediately how I said that. I don't teach Italian. So somebody kindly corrected me. I'm like, oh, wait, no, I learned Italian. Sorry. Something I would be good at teaching. That's tough. I think I'm a good student. I don't know if I'm a good teacher. You know, parenting is, obviously the teaching profession, by the way, thank you for being a teacher. It's a beautiful profession, and thank you for choosing that for, I don't know what age, I don't know who, where, why, but whatever you do and for whomever, thank you. It's a beautiful profession, and it's necessary, and it's underappreciated, at least in the United States. So thank you so much for doing it. I tell you, if COVID taught us anything, it's that teachers and nurses have been in the shadows too long, are way, way underappreciated. Because as I sat there doing homeschool for my 3 boys and trying to navigate their emotional journey, I could not imagine doing that for children who were not of my bloodline and were larger in number, 25 and not 3. It's a special calling, so thank you. But what would I teach? I don't know. I mean, and I'm not being glib here. I don't think I'm an expert at anything, but I do enjoy being a parent and having those conversations about when they're small, the simple things. I enjoyed teaching each one of my children. I have 3 sons. I enjoyed teaching them each to throw a baseball. I enjoyed teaching my oldest boy to drive a car, which he's now driving a car. I enjoyed that process. I enjoy taking the journey with them as they move through their life. And that's not one specific thing. And that also doesn't mean I'm all that good at it. But I'm their dad, so I'm all they've got. In terms of the male influence, at least. My wife is obviously awesome and does the heavy lifting. But I think that if one can say that one's a good teacher because they find joy in it, then I find joy in being a dad. I find joy in having those moments. I find joy in having Fletcher meet you all and come here. He's with me on this convention. I find joy in being the first base coach for Frank's baseball team. I find joy in helping Steve drive and helping him work on his job application for summer employment. All the things that I have done that my dad did for me, that I now do for my sons. I find joy in that. And whatever they glean from it is great, because, you know, from your parents you learn what you like and what you don't like, what you will do, what you won't do, you know. I mean, there are things that I probably do for my children that they will carry with them, and there are things that they will reject, and that's just the nature of the beast. It's not an exact science. It's an ever-evolving obstacle course that you're constantly navigating. So the short answer is I don't know, but the long answer is whatever I think could be helpful in their journey forward, I enjoy sharing. And that's probably as close to teaching as I should ever be allowed to get. Thank you for your question. Yo.
Hi. So given episodes like Stuck in the Middle of You, with You, that you directed, I take it you're a Quentin Tarantino fan?
I am, but...
So my question is,
Yeah,
have
good.
you ever met him?
No, I never met Tarantino, no. And I'm a big Tarantino fan. And somebody asked me about that episode earlier today, and just so Davey Perez gets the credit he's due, the writer of that episode, it was written to be a tip of the cap to Quentin Tarantino. A lot of times, there are cinematic elements that I'll bring to a show, an episode of television that I direct. And certainly I leaned in on the Tarantino elements of that episode, but it wasn't my idea. The idea was born in the paper. It was written by Davey Perez. It was meant to be an homage to Tarantino or reflect Tarantino's tone, and which was great for me because I love Tarantino. I love his style. I admire him. I look up to him. When I was in my 20s, I thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and so it was fun for me to try to think like, what would Tarantino do? But I've never met him. No, unfortunately.
But do you sometimes ask yourself what would Tarantino do in other episodes, like other works you direct?
No, not really, and that's not because I mean, you know, sometimes people ask like, who are your influences as a director, or who do you think you lean on as an influence? And I think it's an almost impossible question to answer, at least for me, because I'm an amalgamation. My brain, all of our brains, are an amalgamation of everything that we have seen and learned and witnessed. If you go to a museum and see 1,000 painters and then you paint, somewhere in there is the influence of the things you've seen. For me, I've just grown up loving movies, and I think I'm as influenced by Carl Reiner as I am by Wes Anderson. You know, whatever films I've loved are in there. So whether it's executing a joke, executing an action sequence, executing a dream sequence, or anything else, you know, I'm as likely to pull from Bob Singer and Phil Segrisha as I am from Quentin Tarantino, because I admire their work tremendously too, and they do it in the format that I do it, which is television. So I haven't, but that's not to say that I haven't seen the scene and thought, ooh, this idea, which was born out of somewhere, which might be an influence from a Tarantino thing, this pacing or this style, I'm going to go with that. And I might not even know that it's a Tarantino that I'm pulling from, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because once it's all in the grab bag, it just becomes what you know.
I think also the episode where you're acting as Loki that also has a very much Tarantino style, Kill Bill style, sort of.
Yeah, it is, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely a Kill Bill style to that one too. You're right, I forgot about that. For sure. And that was also by writer design. Meredith Glenn wrote that one, and she, you know, sort of referenced some of that as well. I mean, for my generation of filmmakers, he was just such a big impact player. You know, for all of us in our early 20s, when he started making movies, it was just like, whoa, who's this guy who's just doing edgy, interesting stuff? So it's impossible not to get influenced by him. But I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan. So there's a lot that, like, optimism is definitely Wes Anderson. You know, there are things in episodes where I've used as much symmetry as humanly possible. Heck, we did, I can't remember the name of the episode. It's where Lilith shows up and Jake Gable plays two characters, say it again? Our Father who art thou? Oh, who art in heaven. That episode. Our Father who art in heaven. That episode, we did all kinds of Wes Anderson type stuff. We did a Moonrise Kingdom homage with the camping outfits and the beret and the Lilith and all this stuff. So you just kind of end up being. That's one of the great things about Supernatural. It's not CSI. CSI is one style. You're doing CSI, you're doing CSI, which, by the way, that's great. That's how that show is built. Shows like that, procedurals like that, you don't change genres, you don't change styles. Supernatural afforded the ability to do creative things and still be honest and true to the story and the characters. That's really cool in TV. It's really rare in TV. And that's why Supernatural was able to continually reinvent itself, not just story-wise, but visually. And then bounce back to where it had been successfully and move between the two. Thank you for your question, by the way. Hey.
I actually meant to ask you this the other day at the Roman holiday, but considering you were in New Orleans filming Winchesters, if you had to give one of these up cuisine-wise, which one would it be? Gumbo, jambalaya, po' boys, beignets, or croche?
Beignets.
Yeah.
So the question is based on the fact that we shot Winchesters in New Orleans, which is a culinary mecca. The food in New Orleans is unbelievable, and it's unique. If anybody been to New Orleans? All right, anybody want to go to New Orleans? Yeah, add it to your bucket list. It's one of America's coolest cities, and it's certainly unique, and has amazing food from the most expensive restaurant to the tiny bar serving whatever they have behind the door in the kitchen. Everything is phenomenal. It's just such a good food town. Beignets. I'm not a huge beignet fan. I'm not a big sweets guy, for starters. And secondly, it's like, I went to get beignets when I was down there because I felt like, well, I should probably get a beignet. That's like one of the things they do, right? And I'd been there years, decades before and had them, but this time I was spending all this time down there. I'm like, I'm going to get beignets. And they're great, but you get like 3, and they're like this big, covered in powdered sugar and solid. And I got like 2 bites in, and then that's all I needed. It was like it was a lot of beignet. I feel like I've beigneted, and I don't need to be yayed again. But it had some interesting stuff there. There was what was the restaurant called? I can't remember. But I had, you guys ever heard of chicken and dumplings? It's a southern dish. They had rabbit and dumplings. They had alligator down there. Really interesting things, and all really good. Not creepy or anything. Just like they just work it into how they cook, and it's just fantastic. So, the easy answer: beignets. I'll grow large with the other dishes you mentioned.
Because I actually saw a meme earlier on today, and it literally says, "Oh, look, an invasive species, Louisianans. Ooh, how does it taste?"
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. They know what to do with those critters. Grill them.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You right there.
Hi.
Hey.
I really liked your EP, your first EP, hopefully, and I was wondering if there's an actor strike coming up too, you might have time to write more music.
Oh, the music. Oh, so yeah, actually, I already have. During COVID, I wrote a bunch of music. So I have a band called Dick Jr. and the Volunteers. It's a country band. Jason Mann's helped produce the album. Billy Moran plays on the album. Rob Benedict wrote a song for the album. It's a really fun. If you like country music, it's a fun record. We're doing a second record, and this time it's not Billy's not just playing on it; he's helping produce it. So Billy and I we're working on the record together, and the songs are already written actually because I wrote them all during lockdown, but we just haven't had time to get to them. First of all, lockdown, you couldn't do anything, and then I've been busy, and now we're in the strike. So our goal right now is to do it in August. That's what we're trying to do. We're targeting that. So we're hoping to have it done by the fall. And really excited. We already have a couple of the songs recorded because we recorded more than we needed on the last album. So I got a couple of songs from that, and then I've got a bunch of songs that I've written in lockdown, and we're going to put out another record.
Will Emma be on it again?
Oh heck yeah!
Oh, awesome.
Emma will be on it. Emma and I worked on a song together during lockdown. We kind of would just talk to each other and FaceTimed, and I think Emma's one of the most talented people I know. I mean, her voice is stunning. This is Emma Fitzpatrick we're talking about. If you don't know who Emma Fitzpatrick is, go to your Spotify, look up Emma Fitzpatrick, listen to her music. She did for one of Jason Mann's album, one of Jason Mann's covers with friends albums. She did a cover of Patsy Cline's "I Fall to Pieces" that will melt you. It'll bring you to your knees. Patsy Cline, for starters, is a dangerous person to cover because she has a voice like honey being poured from a pitcher. It's gorgeous. And that song is so dramatic and so elegant. And Emma does such a magical cover of it that it's really special. And if it ever found its way to a movie soundtrack or anything that got it some exposure, she'd be up the food chain doing what she wants to do more often than she's doing it now. She has a lot of original music on Spotify, and she sings on the Dick Jr. record on a couple of songs. One that we wrote together, the Going Straight. Yeah, that was really cool. That was a fun. So I did a music video for that song, Going Straight.
That's really funny.
Yeah, and we did that during lockdown with cell phones. It was super fun. If you want to see a cell phone project, Google Going Straight and look at the music video. It's really, really a fun little exercise in how to be creative when you can't leave your house. Anyway, Emma will definitely be involved, and she's a volunteer. She's part of the Dick Jr. and the Volunteers. She's a crucial member, so she'll be involved, and a lot of the people will be involved, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to working with Billy as a producer. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for your question. Right there, you.
I got the story you just related about you and Jensen, and I wonder if you have another to share for us.
A story of me and Jensen. Let me think. What would it be? I mean, we spent a lot of time together. We've traveled an awful lot together. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that's like a funny Jensen shareable story.
Not necessarily funny.
All right. We've all been through some shit together over the years. And one of the worst moments, one of the darker moments, was Rob Benedict having a stroke. Very dark period. Obviously hard on Rob Benedict and his family. Very hard on Rob Benedict. But shocking to those of us who were with him and hanging out. And one of those guys who was here was when we were in Toronto, Canada. One of the guys who was there for it was Jensen. And I just tell this story because it was a great moment in all of us sort of coming together to do what we can in a situation where we couldn't do much. But when it all happened and we got Rob to the hospital, Rob was in critical care, had this medicine in his system, and we were kind of waiting around to get his wife up to Canada and all these things, and Rob couldn't talk. So Jensen came to the hospital, and Jensen and I stood over Rob and just sort of helped Rob not feel scared, which you wouldn't feel if you had had this happen. We just sort of stood over him, and we're having a conversation with him without him. That makes sense? Like, hey, Bobby, how about those Minnesota Vikings? Jensen, they got a new quarterback. Damn right I know. That guy's got an arm. He's got an arm, doesn't he, Bobby? Yeah, I'm telling you what, that kid can throw. We had like several hours of conversation where we would just bounce nickels off Bobby, conversation-wise, just so he could feel involved. And he just kind of nod, like, and we can look back and find the joy in it now. It wasn't funny at the time. It wasn't fun at the time. It was nerve-wracking at the time. I always feel like Jensen and I react to crisis the same way. There was the time the engine exploded on the airplane when Jensen and I, we were doing that. Have you guys heard this story? So Misha finished his last scene, his last moment on the series Supernatural when I was directing. And it was the episode where he confesses his love to Dean, right? Beautiful piece of acting by both Jensen, but Misha did the heavy lifting there. Just gorgeous. And hard scene, late into the night, 2 in the morning, and Misha, the crew, they're all exhausted. They give him a nice send-off, like, thank you for all your years of work. We'll see you at the wrap party, blah, blah, blah. Misha's emotionally exhausted, because he would be. Jensen's emotionally exhausted, because he would be as well, very buried in the scene. And Alex Calvert had been shooting earlier in the day and was still there. And so Alex, Misha, Jensen, and myself all boarded the plane that Jared always flies. Jared's plane, but Jared wasn't flying with us. It was the 4 of us going to Las Vegas. So we get on the plane, and we're flying, and we're about 20 minutes out, and Misha had been joking, like, well, I'm dead, guys. Well, that's it, I'm dead. We're kind of just letting the air out of the balloon, as it were, and I was sitting across from Misha, and Al Cal sitting across from Jensen. And we're flying, and we hear, BAM! And a big blast of light on one side, and the plane goes, and we go, no. Jensen says, should we be concerned with the pilot? And he's saying, yes, you should be concerned. Please put your seatbelts on. We're going to find our way to emergency land this plane. We just lost an engine. And we're like, oh, fuck. And I told Misha, I'm like, yeah, you might just have died. Tad on the nose, don't you think? But it was Misha, me, Al Cal, and Jensen. And I just remember looking at Jensen, and then he and I are both like, okay, all right, yep, no problem. We're gonna circle this bad boy around, we're gonna land it, we're all gonna be good. But there was a certain sense of tension in the air, and everybody handled it beautifully. Al and Misha were a little quieter, and Jensen was a little more football coach, and I was a little more assistant football coach. And it just was interesting to me that we just have sort of Rob's situation, that plane situation, with similar reactions. And I think that's kind of interesting. I think it's one of the things that connects us as people beyond just coworkers and people who met through work. I think it connects our humanity to each other. And I've had similar situations with Jared, not near-death experiences, but I'm saying I've gone through things with him where I feel like stopping all the trains in Europe, or we've done things where we're bonding, we're having bonding. That's what we're doing here. We're also destroying people's vacations, but that's beside the point. And so I think those serious moments, we can laugh, we can joke, we can connect our lives through humor like we did earlier, but really the through line is when the shit hits the fan, who do you turn to, how do you respond, and how do they respond back? And I think we've been through enough stuff as a unit, as a group, as a squad, where we've seen each other's true colors and we all like what we see. And we all admire what we see. And everybody handles it differently. 2 of the things that I think are interesting about those scenarios I just painted. 1, Jared wasn't on that plane, which makes us think that maybe there was subterfuge. You know what I mean? Maybe he fiddled with the engine. I can't prove it, I'm just saying maybe. And secondly, one of our favorite parts of the Rob Benedict stroke story, which we have, again, we find joy in the negative because obviously it was a tough situation, but Rob has recovered beautifully and we're on the other side of it now. We can enjoy the experience. But through all of that, while Jensen and I were, I got Rob to the hospital, while Misha's trying to get Molly across the border, while Jensen's helping with all that, and Jensen and I are talking over Rob, all these things. Next day, all you see on Twitter is Thank God for Jared.
Was he scarred?
Not a goddamn thing. He wasn't there. Jared went home, went to sleep, woke up to 40 texts going, we're losing Rob, we're losing Rob. We lost Rob. Wait, he's back, he's back. He's back. I don't know, man. And so Jared wasn't involved in the slightest. But somehow, the internet lauded him as the guy who saved Rob. Thank God for Jared. Well, you know what I say? Fine. I don't thank God for Jared. You know what I do say? Every year we have, in Toronto, we usually have a dinner, sort of the homage to Rob. We call it the Rob Benedict Memorial Dinner, in parentheses, even though he lived. And we always make sure, in the middle of that dinner, to stand up and toast the true hero to Rob's recovery, Jared Padalecki. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm being told that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have questions, save them for tomorrow. I'll be back. Thank you, everybody, so much. I'll see you later.